Episode number 807, The Prima Donna Syndrome.
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Misner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your membership in the world's largest networking organization, BNI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the official BNI podcast. I'm Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio in Berkeley, California, and I'm joined on the phone today by the founder and the Chief Visionary Officer of BNI, Dr. Ivan Misner. Hello, Ivan. How are you, and where are you?
I am this week in Miami at the U.S. conference, BNI U.S. conference, and
wow.
It's an exciting place to be to have a conference.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So what do you have to share with us?
Well, at one point I was thinking about actually doing a book on this topic, but I probably don't have enough material. So I'm doing this podcast, and I'll have a blog and an article out on it. The Prima Donna syndrome is a term used to describe individuals who display excessive egotism, arrogance, self-centeredness in their professional and personal lives. And this syndrome can be found in people from all walks of life, but it's often observed in those who have achieved or think they have achieved a level of success or fame. I first recognized this with two individuals that I worked closely with, and neither of them they didn't really achieve a substantial level of success or fame, but they were beginning to. And boy, they fell right into what I call the Prima Donna syndrome. The first gentleman was a trainer within the company, and he was a good trainer, and he was very entertaining. The problem was his territory was in horrible shape. He acted like a prima donna, but performed like a deadbeat. The showman just couldn't show up in results, but he behaved like he was the best in the company. The second person was a co-author of a networking book. As soon as her name was on the book, you'd think she was born a queen. She jumped into the prima donna syndrome with both feet and treated everyone accordingly. When individuals exhibit these kinds of characteristics, they may find it difficult to build and maintain positive relationships, both personally and professionally. Their constant need for attention and validation, coupled with a lack of empathy for others, can create feelings of isolation and loneliness with other people. The Prima Donna syndrome is characterized by an exaggerated sense of self-importance, an obsession with status, and an expectation of special treatment. Individuals with this syndrome often believe that they're the most talented, intelligent, and hardworking people in their industry. They demand recognition for their accomplishments, and they expect others to cater to their needs and to their desires. Unfortunately, the Prima Donna syndrome can really have devastating effects on an individual's career and personal life. Prima donnas often alienate colleagues and clients with their demanding and entitled behavior. They may refuse to collaborate with others, believing that they're the only ones capable of achieving success. They may also become resentful or hostile when they don't receive the recognition they feel they deserve. One of the most insidious aspects of Prima Donna syndrome is that they can be really difficult to detect in oneself. It's hard for them to see it in themselves. Many individuals with this syndrome believe that they're simply ambitious or driven rather than arrogant or entitled. And as a result, they may be resistant to feedback or criticism that may struggle to form meaningful relationships with others. So here are some traits I've observed relating to this behavior. One is the need for control. Individuals with prima donna syndrome often have a strong desire to control situations and people around them. They may become frustrated or angry when things don't go their way, and they may try to exert control over others through manipulation, bullying, or other tactics. There may be a sense of entitlement. Prima donnas often have a belief that they're entitled to certain privileges, recognition, or treatment that others are not. They may feel that they're above the rules that apply to most people, or that they deserve special treatment simply because of their position or their status. They may have a lack of empathy. Prima donnas may have difficulty empathizing with others, and they may dismiss opinions or feelings of those around them. They may lack the ability to understand or appreciate the perspectives of others and often come across as cold, aloof, certainly uncaring. They have an inability to take feedback. Individuals with the Prima Donna syndrome may become defensive or angry when receiving feedback or criticism. They may view any suggestion for improvement as a personal attack and may be unwilling to acknowledge or address those shortcomings. There's often a need for attention. Prima donnas often crave attention and may behave in ways that draw attention to themselves, and they may seek to be the center of attention or may use attention-seeking behavior to feel validated or important. This was the case with the co-author that I mentioned above. Definitely the case with that person. They may be a poor team player. Individuals with the Prima Donna syndrome may be unwilling to collaborate or work with others. They may be belittle or just dismiss the contributions of other people, and they may view themselves as the sole authority on a given topic or task. One additional trait of individuals with the Prima Donna syndrome is their tendency to think that they are above menial tasks or mundane responsibilities. They may believe that these tasks are beneath them and they should be focusing on the other important work. However, this can lead them to be seen as lazy or entitled, particularly entitled by their colleagues. Overall, people with the Prima Donna syndrome may exhibit a range of challenging behaviors that can make it difficult to work or interact with these people effectively. So it's important to recognize these traits and develop strategies for managing or mitigating their impact on others. So dealing with someone who has a Prima Donna syndrome can be challenging, but here are some strategies, 5 strategies that will help you address people that have or appear to have this Prima Donna syndrome. There will be helpful techniques to work with them. One is to establish clear boundaries. It's important to set clear boundaries with individuals who exhibit Prima Donna behavior. Establish expectations for how you'll work together and communicate these expectations clearly and assertively, and be prepared to enforce the consequences if the individual crosses these boundaries. The second one is stay calm and professional. It's important to remain calm and professional when dealing with prima donnas, even if they become hostile or difficult. Avoid getting drawn into arguments or emotional reactions, as this can just escalate the situation and make it harder to resolve. The third one is to focus on the facts and focus on solutions. When communicating with someone who has prima donna tendencies, try to focus on facts and solutions rather than the emotions that might be presented. Provide clear, objective feedback and offer suggestions for improvement or for compromise. Fourth is seek support. Dealing with someone with prima donna syndrome can be stressful and challenging, so it may be helpful to seek support from colleagues, friends, or on a personal level, a mental health professional. If it's a personal friend, doesn't tend to work on a professional with a professional associate, but on a personal friend, seeking help from a mental health professional. I have for both personal friends and professional friends, I have talked to experts, mental health experts, about how to handle the individual. One of the people that I've talked to a number of times has been on my podcast, Mark Golston, Dr. Golston. I've reached out to Mark several times and said, "Hey, I got this person that's got this issue or that issue," and he's been very helpful in giving me suggestions on how to deal with challenges like that. So talking through your experiences and feelings with someone can help you maintain perspective and develop effective coping strategies. Fifth, consider disengaging. In some cases, it may be necessary to disengage from an individual with prima donna syndrome if they're consistently difficult or toxic to work with, and if it's possible to do. If you feel the individual's behavior is impacting your well-being or the well-being of others, it may be time to consider ending the relationship or seeking other professional or personal opportunities than with this individual. Just in summary, the behavior of individuals with prima donna syndrome can lead to low morale, high turnover, and strained relationships with colleagues or clients. And the earlier you recognize it and the sooner you address it, the stronger your organization will be. And I hate to say it, but sometimes we get people in a BNI chapter that behave like this. And so these are some suggestions on how to work with them and how to work with people that you meet in other contexts. One of the things that I've loved, and I've talked about these two gentlemen many times, on the podcast and in my writings. Two people that if there were anyone that might act like prima donnas, these two certainly have the credentials, and that would be Richard Branson and Jack Canfield. Both of them, Richard's an associate, Jack is a close friend, and both of them unbelievably successful in their fields. And yet neither one of them, their ego enters the room before they do. Those are two individuals that have learned how humility and being humble is also powerful. One of my favorite sayings is that humble people don't think less of themselves; they just think of themselves less.
That's a good one.
Prima donnas tend to think of themselves a lot, and that's the big difference. So those are my thoughts for today, Priscilla.
Okay, how does prima donna syndrome differ from narcissism? It seems like they're very close.
Yeah, they can be. The two people that have come to mind that I mentioned in this piece, neither of them I would consider narcissists. What happened was they worked their way into a role where they thought they were more important than they were. Both of them, by the way, are no longer involved, and they're not in that role or any role. So it had the opposite impact. But neither of them I would consider narcissists. So a narcissist definitely is a prima donna, no question about it. But a prima donna isn't necessarily a narcissist. That's my opinion. That's the way I would describe it. And I'm basing it on the fact that I've met many people that, all of a sudden they get into a position and now they're the king of the hill and they behave like a prima donna, but they're not naturally a narcissist. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is the prima donna syndrome, is that a real thing or something that you created a title for?
It's a phrase that I came up with, but I found it on Google. So, it's a phrase that I've been using for a long, long time. I didn't read it or hear it anywhere, but it appears to have been used in other pieces. So I first started talking about it probably 20 years ago.
Okay.
Well, if you've listened to this, I hope this helps give you some BNI members. It gives you some sense on how to handle prima donnas.
Okay, I think that's very good, Ivan. Thank you so much. That's it for this week. This podcast is sponsored by MeisnerAudioprograms.com. These audio programs will provide you with the tools and the inspiration to powerfully enhance your BNI experience. So check out the great material that's available to you at MeisnerAudioprograms.com and use the promo code IVAN50 for 50% off of everything. All of the proceeds go to the BNI Foundation. Thanks so much for listening. This is Priscilla Rice, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for another exciting episode of the official BNI podcast.